So good day. We're holding in Igeres HaKodesh, chapter 12, page 236. This is the fourth of four shiurim on this chapter. We're going a little slower. This way we could talk out more ideas and discuss more things. So the Alter Rebbe in yesterday's shiur began explaining to us the difference between Maaseh HaTzedakah and Avodas HaTzedakah, the act of tzedakah and the work of tzedakah. And briefly, Alter Rebbe said that Maaseh HaTzedakah is limited. In other words, you have to give tzedakah. How much, what, all those details going. And even if you go a little beyond, but it's all within a certain framework. Avodas HaTzedakah is associated with the idea of transcending, breaking out. Now, I didn't explain yesterday, but I'll share this now. Avodah, when you say the word Avodah, the first thing that comes to mind in Chabad Hasidus is, which is brought in many discourses, Maimarim, Avodah Meloshin Ibud Oiros, refinement of the skins. Tannery, tanning, in the sense, not tanning the skin, but, taking a piece of raw hide and making of it parchment for mezuzah, for tefillin. That process takes a lot of effort, especially in the old days for sure. And guess what? When you did it, you walked away with not a pleasant smell. You know how sometimes you see someone who's a plumber or electrician, and you look at their hands during the week and it's not exactly as clean as it should be. Well, because they're involved in, grease and oils and pipes and schmutz. It's work. Avodah is work. There's no shortcuts to Avodah. Anyone who expects a shortcut to Avodah is not doing Avodah. It doesn't exist. I'll just say, let's say Isser is a physician, right? So maybe today he can come into his office and kind of, give a diagnosis and give a prescription and go on. I'm not talking about all the people he deals with, which is a big avodah. But we forget that he sat for years in medical school. He was up nights. He schwitzed, right? I told you I had a friend who was in medical school in the early 80s when I was in Morristown, and he wanted to learn with me. He would come with his scrubs into the yeshiva Morristown from Borough Park. He was, having his residency in Borough Park in Maimonides. He drove all the way to Morristown, and he came in. It's like, we all looked at him like, and he came to learn. It's hard. You don't sleep. You do this. So, so later on you say, well, he's a doctor. He makes a nice living, and he just has to speak. And what does he have to do? And he can come with his nice car, and he can park, whatever. You don't realize how much went into it. Avodah, to accomplish, is avodah. There's a famous saying in the name of the Hasidim of the Tzemach Tzedek, Menashe. You'll like this. The Hasidim of the Tzemach Tzedek said, anything that comes easy to a person, run the other way. It's not, you say in Yiddish, ois gearbet. Work through. It's not really, it hasn't been, you haven't sowed and plowed. You haven't plowed the field. You drop a few seeds on a field and you haven't plowed it, it's not going anywhere. Avodah is rich because it's real man. It's real work. You're a man. You're not just a wimp. Okay? Someone who gets things easy, they're a wimp. Someone who works hard, that's a man. That's a person. The Alter Rebbe employs this concept of avodah here, avodas hatzedakah. So when you learn that, before you go into the nuance, the details, right away, we're talking about some aspect of tzedakah that's beyond the norm. And that's what Alter Rebbe says. Indeed it is. And that's why it's kind of, it won't be fully revealed till Mashiach comes. But nevertheless, we can and should taste it during our lifetime. When? When we give tzedakah to a poor person. We need to give tzedakah, and yesterday Hillel asked us about, does he have to give every time a mashulach asks him for money if he gave him yesterday? I'm sure you have this in the Karlbach shul, and every shul, you have it in every shul, right? Over and over, the same faces. I gave you yesterday. Like, well, what are you back today again? Again. So Alter Rebbe brought in the Apostle, Nosoin Titein. Give, shall you give? And Gemara says, Afilu me'apamim. Even 100 times. You hear that, Yaini? 100 days in a row, a Mashulach will come into the Karlbach shul and ask you for tzedakah. Nosoin Titein. You really want to say, hey, get a job, No. Hold yourself back. Give him. Have some coins. Give. Try to do that. So let's go now to page 236. And let's learn inside the text. Oh, so the last thing that Alter Rebbe said was that the Avodah B'derech Maisa, which brings Shalom, can be experienced during davening. What happens during davening? During davening, I'm a nice boy. I'm a good boy. My Yetzer Hara is asleep. You're not asleep now. Wake up. Smell the coffee. The Yetzer Hara goes to sleep during davening. Why? Because the Yetzer Tov, the Nefesh Elikis, is in control. What happens after davening? Chayzav v'nei, or to use a term used in Hilchos Yoredeya. It resurfaces because it never was eliminated. The urge is always there. The taiva is there. So now let's look at the lie about 10, 12 lines from the bottom after the period on page 236. The second level of tzedakah, which is in the level of in a manner of avodah, of work, since it is precious and great. Mailosa, its quality, very much so, because a person during that experience knows, not only subjugate, but knows completely their nature and their will. What's natural for them, we discussed that yesterday. Hagufni, the physical bodily nature and will. For what does one annul it? For God's will, Hashem's will. And the person subjugates the extraneous side, the negative side, the sitra achra, the klipa. V'azai, and by doing that, istalik yikora de kuchabrichu. You hear that? What is revealed is the preciousness of Hashem. Istalik over here doesn't mean miloshin histalkus, removal, but it means it appears, it reveals itself. In the Maimar Basiligani that Chabad learns at Yud Shvat, he brings there the medrash Istalik yikora de kuchabrichu. And he explains that Yistalik also means, at certain places, the revelation of a greater right, Seviv Kolam. So the Alter Rebbe employs it over here as well. That when we annul our will to the will of Hashem, we break our nature, we go beyond our nature, this reveals a higher level of God, a more godly experience called Istalak Yikara de Kuchabrichu, the preciousness of God is revealed. It's known as the advantage to light coming from darkness. Menashe, normally you have light, you have darkness, you have a room that's dark, you bring a candle in, you turn on the lights. That's not what we mean, because that light is not coming from the darkness. It's being added and imposed upon the darkness. Yisrin ha'oir, there is advantage to a certain type of light, min ha'choshech, that's created from the problem, from the darkness. You understand, Yaini? That's the greatest type of accomplishment, is when someone has an issue that they dealt with and they struggled with and they failed, and they don't give up, and they find a way to turn that around. That's real light. That's a light that's Yisr Ha'osh. Alter Rebbe says that this light, Yisr Ha'osh, this qualitatively it's a different light. It's a different category. It's not in the same category as someone who has light in their life. They brought light into their life. Whoopee. Okay? But to take darkness and to change darkness into light, that's a chiddush, that's a novelty. Let's continue. Nevertheless, this is what I said earlier. Nevertheless, the bad can still resurface easily. Kolkach meyelav on its own. All of a sudden, you're standing and waiting for the bus, and you have all kinds of inappropriate thoughts. What happened over here? Rak im odem yoirenu v'yamshichenu al atz b'chas v'sholom. I'm saying, no, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. When we experience this annulment of our will, our nature to God, the evil won't resurface on its own. Remember, the first level of tzedakah, which accomplishes shalom, is analogous to during davening when you put to sleep the nefesh habamas, the yetzer hara. But right after davening, that Alter Rebbe taught us in chapter 12 in Tanya, the first section, it can resurface. Here he says, the second level of tzedakah, that you won't have. Unless, guess what? You schlep upon yourself, you bring upon yourself the Narishkeit. There is no way to stop that. You hear that, Chevra? A person can always, look what he says, you can arouse and draw down this negativity al-atzmai upon yourself, God forbid. Tzedakah this level, tzedakah that level, if you, right, that's what he says. But if bereft of that, on its own, you've eliminated it, because you mevatel your will to God's will. Now the Alter Rebbe explains the difference in the two latter parts of the verse. Right? It says, "V'hoya ma'aseh hatzedakah shalom, v'avodas hatzedakah hashkeit v'vetach." V'zeh shekosav hashkeit v'vetach hadolam, tranquility and surety is eternal. Says the Alter Rebbe, hashkeit hu meloshin shoiket al shmorav. It rests peacefully on the sediment. The Hainu, and he explains, Hashmorim, he's talking about now a barrel of wine, where you have this sediment, from the schmutz of the wine of the grapes. Hashmorim nifrodim legamri min hayayin. The schmutz is separated completely from the wine. The neifel lemato, the gabnin falls below all the way to the bottom of the barrel. The hayayin, and the wine lemaila remains on top. Zach v'tzol, pure, betachlis, in the ultimate way. Right? Valderech zeh, using this as an analogy, so too, hu ba'avodas hatzedakah, it's regarding what we call the work, the avoid of tzedakah. Hashmorin heim pchinas taruvis ra shebenafshay. The sediment, the psoilus, the garbage of the wine is analogous to the mixture of bad within ourselves. It will become nivarer v'nifred, refined and separated, ma'at, a little at a time, until it all falls to the barrel of bottle. Top of page Kuf Yutes, first line, which means the nefesh will return to its source, and the sediment and the ran, the soils and the garbage will be thrown to the depths of the waters. Yam kol chatosim, all their sin. This is a verse which was a support verse for tashlich, right? The tashlich b'mitzoylis kol yam kol chatosim. Why is the Alter Rebbe bring it over here? What's his point? His point is that the avodah of tzedakah accomplishes that the ra is nifred from the tov. Okay, so let's break this down. Let's review it. In the first level of tzedakah, all you have is shalom. What does shalom mean? Shalom means there's a war between good and evil, between fire and water, and we're going to bring peace. Okay, right? But even after you bring peace between the two, they still are fire and water. Then he explains that in practical, a person's practical day, that would be analogous to davening. When you're in the mode of tefillah, Isser, right, and you're having a good davening, you're able to reflect and be into your davening. It's like shalom. It's like it's okay. You got the Yetzer Hara out while you're davening, but boy, do we know as we come home and we sit down to eat and we see all this food and we're starving, what happens with our davening? It goes out the window. And then as the day goes on, we have the pressures and we get nervous and sometimes we embarrass someone, sometimes we don't smile, on and on and on, right? In other words, the Ra is mixed into the Tov. It's not nifrad. It's not separated from the good. Then there's the avodah of tzedakah, the second level. Here it says, Hashkech v'vetach ad olam. It's everlasting tranquility and peace. How is that? That is that when you break out from your nature, as we discussed earlier in the chapter, and you go beyond your comfort zone, then on its own, the ra, the bad, the evil, is separated from the good. Analogous to a barrel of wine, Yoni, in which the sediment is at the bottom, and on top you have good wine. It's two separate things. It's there at the bottom. So the same is true. Until Mashiach comes, there's clip in the world. Okay? We must know that. There's no such thing that there isn't clip in the world. There is negativity. There is bad in the world. But it has nothing to do with me. Why? Because if I can give tzedakah, breaking my nature, that I'm showing myself and showing Hashem, and Hashem likes what he sees. You're breaking your nature. You're going beyond the natural phenomenon. Hashem says that shows me that you're in control, and you're not controlled by your Yetzer Hara. Nevertheless, the Yetzer Hara still exists. That's why the ultimate of this is when Mashiach comes. But when the Alter Rebbe cites the pasuk and he explains here, avodah tzedakah, the avodah of tzedakah causes hashkeit v'vetach ad olam, everlasting tranquility and peace. What's the pshat? The pshat is that this is because you broke loose. And just to conclude this idea, how important it is, and in a way, and difficult. Let's not kid ourselves. It's difficult to do avodah tzedakah. Ma'aseh tzedakah, you're giving tzedakah, ma'aseh act, you can do. We do. But imagine every time you give tzedakah, you feel it's hard for me, I don't want to, and you do it. When it's easier for me, I like this organization, I like this person, I will have to give tzedakah today, Okay, so you're giving tzedakah, but that's in the comfort zone. The trick is, the chiddush is, the novelty, and this is why this Igeres is so important, is to really go beyond the norm. So in other words, if you're giving or helping within the realm of normalcy and comfortability, you're not yet at avodas hatzedakah. You're at ma'aseh hatzedakah. And trust me, it's a good beginning. But we need to reach avodas hatzedakah. And especially Hasidim, the Baal Shem Tov. The whole Chiddush, the Baal Shem Tov brought to Yiddishkeit, to Torah Judaism, to Orthodoxy, to the Litvaks, right? The Baal Shem Tov brought the whole idea of Simcha Shel Mitzvah in a way that maybe you're uncomfortable, but you do it anyway. You understand? That you know what I'm saying? And it's not fair to say my Simcha Shel Mitzvah is your Simcha Shel Mitzvah. Each and every one of us has a different Simcha Shel Mitzvah. One thing's for sure. When we put our tefillin on in the morning, we have an aliyah, or we're even sitting by a kiddush and we have some cholent and kushka and kugel, right? Ask yourself, am I having this because I'm just hungry? Or am I somehow going to make that experience stand out, break through? So yes, I'm going to eat it, and it tastes good, and I'm hungry, and I'm whatever. Number one, if you think of that while you're hungry, and at the kiddush, for example, you're going to eat more relaxed. You're going to eat more as a real yid, even when you're hungry. That's number one. But number two, the sacrifice is there. You won't, I have to have that last piece of kugel. Let someone else take it. I'll have something else. Or I'll come home and I'll have. And the same is, so when you talk about tzedakah, it's hard to, like we spoke about earlier, to give always the same people and the same thing and all of that, and to say, how could this be? And we have thoughts like this is a leidige or a schnurrer, doesn't work for a living. I remind myself, I was in Los Angeles, and your wife Zayda's area over there, and there's a shul, it's a Chabad shul, it's called Congregation Levi Yitzchak. That's the Chabad shul in La Brea. Rabbi Reichik today, his son, is the Rav, and in my days it was, well, not in my days, but later Rabbi Shimon Reichik, his father passed away. The Reichik family, Rabbi Reichik Sr. was a shliach to LA in 1949 for the Frierdiker Rebbe. So in that shul, there's all kinds of characters. Everyone comes in, and it's next door to the Hungarian shul, to Magen Avram. Magen Avram is the corner of Oakwood and La Brea. It's a big building. And it's, Hungarian money. It's a beautiful building and all that. And Chabad is the satellite building to Magen Avram, which was used, I think, for Kiddushim and social events. Chabad bought it because a Yid by the name of Reb Beryl Weiss, Hanogid, he's in Olva Sholem, was a very big Baal Tzedakah, and Mamish, an old-time Baal Tzedakah. He gave when he didn't have, counting on this is going to come in, and that, Mamish. And I spent some time with him. And I remember there were times, just to observe and see this man in action, how he dealt with tzedakah. There were times when people came to him, and he really let them have it. He says, like you're like a leidige, or you don't do anything. Get a job, get a life, make some money. And nevertheless, he gave him the money. I saw that. He cursed him out. He gave him a good portion, which he needed to hear, but it didn't stop him from giving. I saw it. I saw it once, twice, 3 times. In other words, he felt that, it's important for the person. Do some work. That just don't run around collecting, But nevertheless, you're asking, and you need. I'm giving. When you hang around, I'm sure in Eretz Yisrael, I'm sure in your community, maybe your shuls, you can find 1, 2 people, you find usually who are really Baalei Tzedakah, to learn from them, where they don't challenge the person. Oh, you were here and this and that, and you have, but they give freely. However, it's Shabbos of Kislev. Kislev, besides Hanukkah, of course, is a Chassidish month. In Chabad, we had Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which was the other day celebrated, and then there's Tessin, Yud Kislev, the birthday, yahrzeit, and liberation from jail of the Mitler Rebbe, Reb Dov Ber, the second Rebbe. And then on the 14th of Kislev was the Rebbe's marriage in 1928 in Warsaw. And then, of course, Yutes Kislev, which is the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. So it's a very Chassidish month. And then there's Hanukkah, which is about oil and light, and that's also associated with the concept of shemen. Which, anyway, so it's the Shabbosim, these Shabbosim that come up, you sit in the shul, make it meaningful, make it meaningful. If you buy a Kiddush, make a little farbrengen, say a vort. You don't have to be a rabbi to say a vort, and you'll be surprised. Many times people listen better and walk away with something better than what the rabbis say. For whatever reason, a rabbi sometimes goes on and on and on, whatever, it's not the game. Don't discount the ability of a congregant and take that personal achrayus, right? Take that personal responsibility. There's going to be a Kiddush today. Usually people just run and eat and they run out. I'm going to ask a few of my buddies, let's stay for an extra 5-10 minutes, sing a niggin, say a vort, and then you make the Shabbos more Kedushadik. Have a great Shabbos. See everyone Monday, Mitzvah Shem. Sei gesund.
Have a great Shabbos.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Yoyin and everyone else. Take care.